Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, Classic Lesser Known Classics. This episode number 2850 and Doubleshot number 2754. I have two DC trades, one's miniseries, the other is a very brief run for Nightwing. First up we have is America versus the JSA, and I love this cover here. I accuse the JSA of treason. Yeah, the JSA are put on trial in the 80s. And they're accused of treason. Yeah, and the story is that somehow Batman put in his journal that the JSA are traitors. The book itself is written by Roy Thomas, who, from what I've read, is a big JSA fan. Artwork by Raphael Kuhn, Rich Butler, Jerry Ordway, Mike Hernandez, and Howard Bender. Interesting to have Jerry Ordway do the art for this book because I believe he was the artist for All-Star Squadron at the time. So, yeah, here's the cover here for this one. So, it just contains the 4-issue miniseries. So the copyright for this was released in the 60s. That's not right. Or it actually was released in 1985. Yeah, I think the trade itself has a typo. It says 964, 965. No. Look at that. Look at where it says 964, 965. You know, this book came out in the 80s. So, the first issue is basically like the JSA is accused of treason and Superman does not believe in the fact that his old friend Batman. By the way, look at this JSA. You want to know this? Wait a minute. Why does Superman have white in his hair? Why does Wonder look old? Okay, there is a reason why, and also why was up with Hawkman's mask? Okay, the answer to the question of what is going on here with the JSA. Why is it not like this JSA? Okay, there is a reason for that. This is the JSA of Earth 2. This came out prior to Crisis on Infinite Earths, so you could say this is one of the... Now, this Superman right here, according to a retcon, is the very Superman who debuted back in Action Comics #1, and the reason why he's got white in his hair is because DC decided to age him in real time. Yes. One was older. She's married to Steve Trevor. Yes, in the Earth 2 continuity, she married Steve Trevor. And at the end of Earth 1, the original Earth 1 continuity, she also married Steve Trevor there in the final issue of Wonder Woman Volume 1. So the members you see here are Ted Knight, Starman, Alan Scott, Green Lantern, Carter Hall Hawkman, Earth 2 Wonder Woman, Earth 2 Superman, Earth 2 Robin, Wildcat, the Atom, who's wearing this outfit for some reason. He wore that back in the 60s. Dr. Fate, this is Kent Nelson, Johnny Thunder, Dr. Midnight, Iron Man, and Jay Garrick. By the 2000s, Wildcat will still be around, but he has some successors. Hawkman, this half people basically took his name. Of course, the people know how many Green Lanterns have been, like 6 or 7. Dr. Fate's had many successors, including his own wife, a stepmother, a woman, and her stepson. And he's had 2 nephews take up the role, one of whom basically has been forgotten by the current continuity, Kent V. Nelson. His other nephew, Khaled Nelson, has basically taken up the role of Dr. Fate. The one here for Iron Man, that's the original Iron Man, Rex Tyler. Iron Man, Dr. Miller, this is the original one. These two died, along with the Atom, the original one. This is Al Pritt, not Ray Palmer. They died during the events of Zero Hour. Ted Knight died toward the end of Starman. As a much older guy. So, they explain how the heck this happened. So, you have Clark Kent, who's older, working for the Daily Star. And you're thinking, Nick, wait a minute. He works for Daily Planet. Not in the original R2 continuity. He worked for Daily Star. And Daily Planet was invented later. Yeah. So this was a journal given to him by Dr. Carter Nicholas. Okay, those of you curious though, who the heck, some of you asking, who the heck is Dr. Carter Nicholas? Dr. Carter Nicholas had this weird, his whole thing is that he has an obsession with time travel. I think that's who it is. It's the first Dr. Nicholas. No A here. So, yeah, according to this Batman diary that was given to him by Batman at some point prior to his death, you're thinking, wait a minute, Batman dying? Wait a minute, Nick, Batman's alive. The year 2 Batman died in the 70s. They explain this later in the book. This happened in the pages of Adventure Comics. I think it was issue like 464, I think it was, where he died by being killed by basically a minor thug. Yeah. You're thinking, really? Batman got killed by a minor thug. Not by the Joker, not the Riddler, not Penguin. A minor thug? Yes, that is it's how the writer wrote at that point. I don't know why. If I get a chance to meet them, ask him that. So, yeah. So the accusation is that somehow that they're connected to Nazis. So that's what it's been accused of. There's a bit of a recap and stuff with Batman here, taking up various criminals. And then we see looks like FDR. Yeah, FDR basically visited from Batman El Hateful, which is interesting. Yeah, so because of stuff related to this, so basically the JSA is suspended for the whole duration of the war. They reassembled after the war. And then we have the Injustice Society. I love the fact that Roy Thomas gives the bridge retelling of JSA's history from the original All-Star Comics run. A little bit of the flashback that was depicted in All-Star Squadron. All-Star Comics revived book in the 70s. And also Adventure Comics. Basically, that's all retold here for those who didn't read at that point. I know what they are because I read them and I've reviewed them already. So, this panel here, that is from All-Star Comics in 58, which had the debut of Power Girl and the Huntress. Yep. Which, of course, JSA is brought for this committee meeting. And, of course, like, you basically have the regular JSA. Basically, the Thunder members basically have Superman, Alan Scott, Ted Knight, basically all the regular members. No Sandman here, surprisingly. Okay, here's basically the full panel. For some reason, Sandman is not here. Don't know where he is. Basically, people rescue are Jay Garrick, Al Pritt, Charles McGander, Kent Nelson, Carter Hall, Rick Tyler, Earth 2, Wonder Woman, Earth 2, Superman, Alan Scott, Johnny Thunder, Ted Knight, and Wildcat. Robin does not be involved with this at all. Huntress is upset with Dick for not basically standing for it, but basically there's nothing he can do about it. So then we have the All-Star Squadron, which I think their book was still coming at this point in time. Yes. So yeah, this is them, where that is Nucleon, the future Atom Smasher. That's the Scarab, who later became Sandman and Dr. Fate, and by the time of the New 50 relaunch, dead. The Fury, who is the daughter of the Year 2 Wonder Woman, but retconned to be daughter of another Fury. We have Hawkman's godson. We have the Obsidian and Jade, who are the children of Alan Scott, the Green Lantern. So basically, they're not going to do anything. They can't do anything legally. They don't want anything to ruin the process. So, yeah, and I mentioned about the whole thing of the disbanding. The whole thing of the JSA disbanding, that's from the last days of JSA Special that was released in the 70s. So, yeah, by the way, their lawyer is Helena Wayne. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, she wants to believe in them. Yeah, and then of course you have this committee man who's basically like. And they mention here that Dick Grayson used to be ambassador of the Union of South America. Oh yeah, he's also got white in his hair because this is not a man in his teenager. This is a man probably in his 50s and long retired. Yeah. And then apparently that this guy's, and all of a sudden the issue ends with the wizard showing up. And I love this cover here. Yeah, the Spectre's like, release the Society or die, so command the Spectre. Yes. You really gotta love these covers. So, America versus Justice Society. So then we have basically a lot of like recapping of a lot of the JSA history throughout this book. Basically, a lot of this book is basically like even though it's basically, I think it's accused of treason per se, but a lot of the book is basically retelling really good stories here. Like I mentioned, All-Star Comics, the original ones in the 40s, Last Days of JSA, a little bit All-Star Squadron flashback, All-Star Comics in the 70s, Adventure Comics. That's pretty much what this book is. It's a retelling of all those issues. It's not a reprint per se, it's an abridged retelling. And this is just pure awesomeness. I love, despite like all this dialogue, like if you're really interested in the JSA, I would definitely recommend checking this book out because this gives you so much context into the history of the JSA prior to the Crisis of Earths. So, and by the way, in case you're curious though, is the original All-Star Comics one, is that in trade? Yes, it is. Is the one from the 70s in trade? Yep. Along with Adventure Comic issue, that's all in trade. Also, Squadron only the first 18 issues, for some reason. Infinity Incorporated, that's the other group here. They have one trade release right now. They don't have any more trades I can think of. Of course, I mentioned here about the All-Star Squadron. Yeah, it's like Roy Thomas basically just having a blast. Even bring in the Shining Knight. I'm like, that is cool. Yep. They even have at one point we have the Spectre show up. And by the way, the prosecutor starring witness is none other than the Wizard. Which, yeah, now Sandman shows up here. Yeah. And everybody's aghast the fact the Wizard is basically a witness to this. They even have Power Girl take the stand too, which apparently the Senate committee, which controls as one person, apparently everyone else is like, wait. And then Pat Dugan shows up toward the end of the miniseries. He doesn't like try to ultra take over the world per se like he usually does. No. Yeah, and I love Power Girl showing up here because she was like a last minute thing. But I love the fact having her show up here, which was really good for the book. And by the way, apparently the whole thing was just a rambling. The whole thing, a lot of it was just a lie. But this book is so good. Like, if you're in the JSA, check this book out. I give America versus Justice Society a 10 out of 10. It is that damn good. It is so good. And I love the fact that Roy Thomas just has all these images of various JSA stories published prior to this very miniseries. And if you're interested in the JSA, check this book out. Would I put this as the first JSA book to check out? No, I would try to find the All-Star Comics archives. If you can find them in print. Better than find them online. Alright, next up we have is Nightwing Blood Brothers. Well, Brothers in Blood. Yes, this book contains issues 118 to 124 of Nightwing. This is by far the shortest run in the title. And it does have in common with the Robin one. Now, this, of course, is a 1 year later story. It does start off something that would basically be a thing for Nightwing for the rest of this run. From this point forward to the final issue of this volume, of Nightwing being based in New York City. Yep, because Bloodhaven's not around anymore, thanks to Epic Crisis. So, Book itself opens up on a weird note where you have Dick Grayson in bed with a redhead, and no, it's not Barbara Gordon. It's a woman named, um, what is her name? They're able here. By the way, the writer of the book is Bruce Jones, art by Joe Dodd Pucknias and Robert Tarkowski. This book is very infamous. Oh my gosh, it's infamous. So, yeah, in New York City, we have Nightwing beating up people, and then we have Nightwing taking out a knife and slicing one's throat. Yeah, this is actually Jason Todd disguised as Nightwing. And then we see Dick Grayson wake up in bed with a redhead. And no, this is not Barbara Gordon, like I mentioned. Her name is Cheyenne. And during the course of this arc, she becomes the first and only female Nightwing. A concept that we be revisited during the crap Rick Grayson run. Yes. So, the Rick Grayson reference this. So, yeah. It's like... So, you probably think you're reading this like, let me get this straight. So, Dick Grayson, 1 year later, wakes him in bed with a random redhead. Yep. Yeah. And then we debut the Blood Brothers. Yeah. One of his name is Cleveland. Yes. And no, they're not the Brand Brothers. No, they're just the Blood Brothers. It's a very odd story, but the story is very infamous not for the Blood Brothers. Oh no. They're infamous when it comes to Jason Todd. A concept that can completely ignore the other books. And the whole thing like around the Clary Cheyenne, where I think that she's basically like, or Fremont. Yeah, I think she's the boss, but she's acting like a secretary, but she's the boss. So, let me show you off something that basically this book is very infamous for. It is like, it's not as, like in the case of what happened with Robin Wanted. That was basically a middle finger to anybody like Cassie Kane. This story is just pure bad. Oh my gosh. This book, like, think of artwork. I do appreciate that. And then we see, just by pure randomness, I think that's supposed to be his former landlady from the Bloodhaven book. I think so. Yeah, so... I'm about to get to of why this book is infamous. The book is infamous because of Jason and who had this weird thing where you have his name, Dick Grayson's name on face on a cart like he's declared missing. The thing with the blob creature. Yes, so then here's Cheyenne Fremont as Nightwing for this one story arc, and then she's never seen ever again. So yeah, that creature is Jason Todd. That's why this story is infamous, because of this thing, which is ignored as soon as the story wraps up. It's like the writers DC just pretended like, I guess that Marv Wolfman probably pretended this book never happened because the events of this book, it's so gross. The whole thing of like Todd turning into a monster and gobbling people up and spitting them out like they're nothing. I do appreciate the artwork. I do love the artwork, but this story is just bad. Oh my gosh. Yes, by far, this is almost just as bad. I would say it's on the level of bad as the Rapish. That was controversial. But this wasn't controversial, just plain awful. Like, the story here is just awful. And it's a good thing Marvel took over this book right after this story wrapped up, because I'm not sure if the reputation of the series was hurt by this storyline, but this storyline, Brothers in Blood, just pure bad. Probably, like, I read this again, I'm like, wow, this story is awful. The only thing good about it is the artwork. I love the artwork for this book, but the story is awful. It's a good thing Bruce Jones has say in the book. If it could, I guess someone at DC must have realized though that, wait a minute, let's not keep Bruce Jones in the book, because if he stayed, I think the book would have been axed. Oh, yes. I think the book would have been axed. Yes, I think the book would have been axed. And it's a good thing, too, because Marv Wolfman takes over, and there's going to be a lot more interesting to discuss here. But what do I give Nightwing's Brothers in Blood? I give this book a 4.5 out of 10. Yes, it is by far one of my lowest rated books, but for good reason. If you want to think of personally, like, what is my worst rated book, it is the two trades for Tim Drake Robin. I think I gave those like a -2. Or at least like a 0, I think it was. I gave those two a 0. But what I'm probably gonna change it now. I'm gonna basically give those two trades. It's been a while to think about it. I'm changing my rating for the two Tim Drake Robin trades from a 0 out of 10 to a -10 out of 10. Yes, those books were just pure awful. This book is just bad, but I would say it's not as bad as Tim Drake Robin. Oh no, it's not as bad as that. That was worse. I would say this book is probably oh my god, I think it's probably like the third worst trade I've ever reviewed, like second worst trade I've ever reviewed, because it's just awful. Okay, so that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do another like button. I have a stream to do, so I'll probably want to have more time to do more videos tonight. I'll probably do more videos tomorrow. Okay, next video. Bye.